All right. Yo, check this out, MAGE TV here. I just got done talking to Tom Woods. I'm here with Jack Rogers, Jake Duesenberg, a couple other very active, liberty-minded people. And I figured I'd talk to them about a few things before they went home and, drank a couple more beers and all this stuff. We're having a good time here at O'Gara's Pub. So, I was talking to Tom Woods about a few things, but I couldn't get the housing bubble. We were talking about nullification, foreign policy. So what do you have to say about the housing bubble? Because I know we talked about this earlier. Do you think that the current housing bubble is something that could blow up? First of all, is there a housing bubble? Could it blow up to as big as levels of '07? And if you see yes or no answers that require, you say the factors are very different, will you elaborate on those factors? You know what I mean? What's going on?
Yeah, that's a good question, Team-H. What happened was there was a bubble. It kind of came to fruition in 2007. It burst, and we all saw that happen. The Fed wanted to try to keep the prices of those houses artificially inflated because to them, you want to keep those bubbles propped up.
How do they do that?
Well, what they do is they control the interest rates. We don't actually have a free market when it comes to one of the most important prices in an economy, and that's interest rates. And what do I mean by that? A price, as far as interest rates go, is the price that someone's willing to borrow or lend money to a borrower. Right? That's a very important function in an economy, and yet we don't actually have free markets there. We're doing like what FDR did in price fixing. We do that with the Federal Reserve and interest rates. So what they did is they actually brought the rates down to artificial levels, actually historic low levels. Right now, I think it was just last week, the 15-year mortgage rate dropped to a historic low, and the 30-year is still floating around that bottom. So they've done everything they possibly can other than actually the government sponsoring a program that just outright buys houses for people. But just wait. I'm guessing they're going to do that with the light rail here in Minnesota. They're already subsidizing through Section 8 housing. So what they're going to do, Team-H, is they're trying to keep this bubble propped up. Now, they're doing that to a certain success rate at keeping them artificially high. Housing prices should actually be much lower than they are. To give you a quick example, in the 10-year period between 1997 and 2007, housing prices increased by the Schiller Index, 20 top cities, about 123%. And in the big correction, I think it fell about 20 to 30%. So that's not a real true correction in prices. It's actually just a short drop.
Tremor.
It's a tremor, right.
So is the bubble the same, different, or what do you see?
Well, the bubble's not going to happen. What ends up happening is this newly created money, which is the only way the Fed can keep the rates artificially low, is actually moving into the bond market.
So it's a bubble, but not a housing-specific bubble?
It's not a housing-specific bubble. The Fed's actions always end up in some kind of asset bubble, and what you need to do is you need to track where that new money's going. And so all that money is really going to bail out the government's enormous debt each year. This is the 5th year in a row that we have a $1 trillion budget deficit. It's primarily financed by the Fed, and it's done in two ways. They're either directly buying bonds through quantitative easing, and at this point it's about a third of our debt, or what they're doing is they're inflating the money supply, and that's going overseas through our trade deficit. And what the Chinese do or the Japanese do is they come back and buy treasuries with that extra money, and so they're buying the debt indirectly with inflation. At some point, this gig is up because either interest rates have to go up, or all that money circulates through the system, and all of a sudden prices overall come up. All we're seeing right now are in particular prices in commodity markets and where government's spending money, education and healthcare.
So when they buy these bonds, let's say foreign countries, right, does it really give them a leg up on having more of an advantage to eventually own real assets within our country? Or is it just this whole, you owe me this deal, and then 10 years later, I owe you this? You know what I mean? How much is it real stuff that we're going to see people, foreigners owning physical things in the United States?
Well, it's already happening. The Chinese are starting to stop buying treasuries. We're starting to see that happen in the last couple of years. So you're going to see foreign investors abandon the treasuries. I predict this will happen in a large amount, probably in the next couple of years, which is what's going to force interest rates to go up on treasuries. Once it happens, the federal government's absolutely in a catastrophic situation, because they cannot afford their debt, because we have roughly $4 trillion each year that gets refinanced. They could not afford it if those rates go up. So we have a huge problem. But I think these guys are going to be smart, and they're going to say, you know what, these treasuries are a losing bet. The credit rating of the United States is not what it should be. I'm not going to get paid in any long-term debt, so I'm going to come back and I'm going to buy this bank, or I'm going to buy, this land or this property, and they're going to do something else with that money.
All right, so here's your opportunity. Introduce Jack Rogers to the camera. Introduce the newest happenings in the libertarian movement in Minnesota. What's going on? So
Uncle Jack over here, he runs the North Metro Tea Party, and him and I have launched a Tea Party a political committee in Minnesota recently to help build the Tea Party movement.
Okay.
And you know me, I'm an investment advisor,
Yes.
and I speak a lot about free markets and why the Fed is actually creating bubbles, similar to what Tom Woods talks about. And I like to get that out through the Tea Party because those people are receptive to that message. And so Jack is what I consider a leader in that movement, and he's a phenomenal guy, a real good activist.
you got a little pitch you wanna do here for what's going on in the local area? It's anything. I mean, convince me that I got to be showing up to more of these events.
Well, you have to show up on May 9th.
Okay.
Because you don't know what it's like to be at a Tea Party where real conservatives actually come together. And we're not libertarian, we're not Tea Party. We're actually true conservatives with focus on achieving results. And we know it's not done overnight. And we know we have to do a lot of hard work. We started in 2010 with less than 12 of us. He will attest there's 736 of us in the North Metro. Okay, that's an influence that is very important at the Capitol. That's a very important influence in your counties. That's a very important influence in the schools. We have two key, we call them investigative reporters, that we're part of pushing the hockey mom and the Black Panther thing to the public. Now, we don't want the credit for it, but we want the activities then to light themselves on fire so the media is forced to come and watch it burn. Isn't that a very simple process? So Jake and I said, let's do another Tea Party. And we started meeting for about 2 months. We planted the flag down over in Lake Elmo. The thing is so exciting. And we've been invited to start one in St. Paul, one in Dakota County, and one in Grand Rapids. How do we do that? Jake is not a gazillionaire. I'm not. We started the Minnesota Tea Party PAC, and we're raising money. First goal, $8,000. That $8,000's bringing a trailer. That trailer's going to house projector, screen, sound system, flags. We will actually be able to take this out, and we'll be able to transfer and teach other people transferable methods and plant these around so they can be, now, the true liberty, be independent. They're not controlled by any party. Not the Republicans, not the Democrats, not the Libertarians, not the they're influencing the people that they elect, and those people that get elected know the power of those units.
What's the difference between the card-carrying Minnesota Republican and the people showing up in Minnesota for the Tea Party events? What's the rift there? Where are we talking these issues?
Okay, well, the rift, first of all, is not quite as big as the left or the media would like to make you believe, because number one, I'm a past chair of SD 31. I'm the vice chair now. I believe in one term. So when I served my term, we had other people in place to learn it, okay? That doesn't mean I can say, let's tear somebody out of an office that's truly better than anything that we've raised up. But I want to live what I preach and preach what I live. And so I served the one term. But I'm a Republican when it came to voting. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to vote Republican tomorrow. That doesn't mean I'm going to hand my money to them. But I will hand my money to Rand Paul or to Michelle Bachmann or somebody that I can look in the eye and say, you need to do this, okay? But we vet them very carefully on 3 simple issues: financial or fiscal responsibility, constitutionally limited government, which is your liberties, put the handcuffs on the government, so it's liberty, and free markets. And if I can vet a candidate and they don't fall into the vision there, guess what? I don't care if they're Republican. We're not going to work hard to support them. Has this state made a lot of mistakes by missing good leaders like that? Yeah, tonight. Tony, he should be in leadership. Kurt Bills last Thursday, he should be in leadership because they represent the truth. They're going to serve from their heart, and they're going to listen to their people. Is the Tea Party active? Is North Metro a leader? We hope it's just an example that others want to live up to. Because Jake and his team and my other coordinators, it's not us. It's organic because we simply show people the truth and why it's important to care, and that's it.
Anything else you want to say about the local movement on a local level?
Well, I'll just
throw out some websites or anything
I'll
like
just
that.
say it's www.teaparty.mn. But I'll say this. I can say this speaking on behalf of the Tea Party statewide organization. We are 100% opposed to the increase on the beer excise tax.
Me too, for real.
And get this, we're even 100% opposed to taxing baseball cards and sports memorabilia.
I can stand with these guys on that.
You know what that is? My baseball cards from when I was a kid.
From when you were pro?
Duke Snyder era, okay?
Yeah.
I have those baseball cards. Guess what they're worth now when they put taxes on them?
Not even the bubble gum that came with them.
That's right.
T-Mage, I think you and I were Nolan Ryan era, but...
I heard of him, man. I heard of him. I was born in 94, so, you know. All right, hey. Thanks for your time, guys. I always like giving plugs to the local, liberty-minded people, whether it's libertarians, Austrian economists, whether they end up in the Democratic or Republican Party. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to me. It just matters where their mind's at, where they come from. So, Team Age TV, I'll be at you guys soon from Minneapolis. Actually, we're in St. Paul, but Minnesota represent. Peace.